Hello again. It's finally time for me to answer your questions. Some basic things first before we get going. If the question is long, I will summarize it really briefly instead of reading the whole thing. However, I will leave a screenshot into the background should you be interested in seeing the whole question I am addressing. I was pleasantly surprised by all the questions I received, so without wasting any more time, let's tackle them all. How important is Rin to you as a character? If we simply go by the perspective of a fan of the Touhou series, then not that important. After all we pretty much know about her for sure is her name and the shot types she would have had. However, from the perspective of someone who wants to tell a story, Rin becomes a lot more important. Because she is such a vague character, she becomes almost like a blank canvas. It was really fun to invent her character and backstory because I had pretty much free reins over it. Also, it's probably fair to address this point now. Many of you expressed worry over me possibly deleting the videos again. I just want to say this now, that you don't need to worry. I have no intention of deleting or privating the videos this time. We will get to the why I did so originally in the next question. What would have happened if people would have sided with Rin 4 years ago? I was hoping someone would bring this up because this is directly the cause of the 4-year hiatus I had. 4 years ago, when I made the original series, I presented people following the story with a choice to either side with Marissa or Rin. If people sided with Marissa, the story would end pretty much there. However, what I did not see coming was how strongly people sided with Marissa. I was honestly thinking people would take Rin's side out of curiosity. Which is the reason I had planned that outcome a lot further than the possible option of Marissa winning. Which is also why that ending was so badly rushed. But to answer your question, Rin would have killed Marissa and returned to Jinsokyo for one final showdown. Renee would have also entered Jinsokyo at this point of the story, because he very much was a character even back then. At that point, the players would have been presented with yet another choice: side with Rin and Renee and burn Jinsokyo to the ground, or side with Raimu and Yukari and defeat Rin and Renee. But since people sided with Marissa, I was forced to put something together in haste, and the rest is history. After a while, I started to resent the ending so much I ended up privating my channel until I came up with energy and a way to continue the story from where it ended. Would the current canon of Touhou affect the ARG if it was made today? I doubt it. While this series was just an overglorified fanfiction, it was not bound by the modern Touhou canon almost at all. Almost all the references to the original Touhou media were directed toward the older plot points. So I don't think anything would change story-wise should the ARG be made today. Will I be restoring the lost content from the original series? I would love to, but I'm afraid that what's lost is lost for good. I did not save the contents of the Mega links and such from the original series to my PC, and once Mega wiped my account's cloud, they were lost completely. That being said, Vampire Pineapple's documentation series of the original ARG does include pretty much everything that was contained in it. Excluding the gore, of course. So if you want to be sure everything is preserved from the second series, then I suggest you save the files because Mega will wipe my cloud eventually again in the future. The videos and imager links will stay up for good though. Will I be looking into spreading this story to the Japanese community? I would love to, but I am afraid, like you guessed, I don't know any Japanese. And as such, spreading it to the Japanese community is nigh impossibility for me. That is, unless someone who knows Japanese takes it upon themselves to localize the story. Although I don't know how well the puzzles would work in Japanese. Not well, if I had to guess. How the story would have been affected if there had been a proper Rin Satsuki mod available. I doubt it would have been affected at all. While my story does get some of its inspiration from other fanworks people have made, I still tried to do my own thing for the most part. So yeah, unless the Rin mod would have been really high quality, I doubt the story would have been affected. Although a mod like that would have made getting material for the videos a lot easier. What do I think of Zune confirming that the poster girl is not Rin? I don't much care what Zune says. Rin is a character with just her name, so I think the community is full within their right to fill in the gaps. After all, Kawakama and Deiyuze were originally nameless characters, and despite that, community gave them names that stuck so well they became official. I don't see why that can't be the case with Rin and the poster girl portrait. If people have associated Rin with that image for decades, then I don't see why a single comment from Zoon should change it now. I've also seen people spread the rumor that the poster girl would be an old design for Cerno. From what I heard, that isn't the case, as it was apparently just a mix-up of two papers being partially on top of each other. So at a quick glance it looked like the picture of the poster girl was signed with the name Cerno. But ultimately, even if it was Cerno, I don't see how that should change people's image of Rin. Fans have decided that the poster girl's design is Rin's design, and to me that's all that matters. Were all the puzzles and subsequent story beats pre-planned from the start of Season 2? Absolutely not. When I started the second series, the only things I had planned were the general story structure and the Heaven's Gate puzzle. Everything else I came up on the spot. And I think it really shows at times. Some of the puzzles were slapped together mere minutes before the video went live. Sometimes I came up with a puzzle a week in advance. I had actually planned so little that originally when I started the series 2, Rin was not going to make any further appearance apart from couple references. But once I saw how much people liked her from the first series, I started to slowly bring her back. But there is a reason why I planned so little when I started the second series. And that is that I wanted the second series to be a lot more interactive. One example is Marissa getting shot. The only reason she got shot was because you told her about the rock you saw and neglected to mention that the man stalking her was most likely armed. Of course I would have not allowed Marissa to die before the ending showdown, but apart from temporary plot armor, the direction the story would take and who you would side with were completely up to you. Who was truly Renee's mother? Well, that's the million-dollar question, isn't it? No, but seriously though, I think that's one of those mysteries I will leave open. I made sure to leave enough clues so that you can figure it out on your own, but since you sided with Marissa, that meant that any further story developments for Renee were cut then and there. After all, it was only Renee who wanted to know that, and now with him gone it may go unresolved for good. Although I do keep that unresolved story beat in my mind should I ever want to continue. What was your original inspiration to start the series? I don't even know, to be honest. I guess I just like scary stories and mysteries. Originally I created the first video I uploaded to this channel as a simple art project to see what Rin could have looked like in the game. I soon however realized that the video was rather eerie. So I added some visual and sound effects and the rest is history. From there I just kind of got an idea that maybe I should create a scary YouTube mystery story about Rin Satsuki. Is this it for good, or do you have any plans to ever continue? That's gonna have to be a big fat I don't know. While the story I wanted to tell has reached its end, I don't want to say I would never again come up with anything else to continue the story with. After all, there still are unanswered questions, as I'm sure you've noticed. So yeah, maybe not. I don't feel any need to forcefully continue if I don't get any good ideas. That being said, however, I have decided that should I ever continue, I will not continue with the ARG format. After all, there's only so much one can do with one format. So if I ever get a good idea and have a possibility to make something with higher production value, I might just come back for a round 3. Do I have plans to explore the unanswered questions that are left? The answer is pretty much the same as before. If I come up with something good to continue the story with, and if I can do something better and different from my original story format. I am fully aware of the unanswered questions, and they were left open on purpose for the possible continuation, but for the foreseeable future they will remain unanswered. Did it impact your decision to return to the ARG that the poster girl could be an early Cerno design? None whatsoever. As I explained before, I don't think it matters what was the original intent with the work if the intention is not realized. To me, all that matters is how the fans have adopted the work. So to me, even if Zoon had not meant the picture of the poster girl to be Rin, it still is Rin to me. Death of the author and all that good stuff. Could I provide the list of the artwork used in the videos? Sure. I can try to search for the original sources of all the art I used. Some art I used in the Series 1 I tried to find to use in the Series 2 but was unable to find again. So some art I used may be lost and impossible for me to find again, but I will do my best to gather a list of links to the video description. If there is no list of links yet, then I am still gathering them. Was the 4-year hiatus planned? No. Like I addressed in a previous point, my original plan for how the story would ended up being vastly different on how it actually did, hence I privated my channel, laid low, and went back to the drawing board. I did not plan how I would continue the story all the time, but once I came up with how to continue the story, I brought the channel back and got to work. What's your favorite part of the story? I think my favorite part of the story I made was the part where I got to write how Rin became a yokai, from both the perspective of Rin and Marissa. I just went all out with that one and had a lot of fun while writing it. What inspired the channel name 9A13, D514? That channel name is simply an encoded phrase, I am dead. The idea behind it is the core idea of identity and what it means that I explored in both of the seasons. I think most of you know the idea that a person dies twice, first physically and the second time when someone mentions their name for the last time. And since Into How being forgotten is kind of a big deal, especially for yokai, it is a rather multi-layered name that means many things at the same time. Also, since Terrence came to haunt the channel after his death, the name fit even better, since he was dead. Plus I like to keep my identity a secret, so it just seemed like a good name to pick. Do you have any plans for an upcoming project? Not really. While I would like to make something in the future as well, at the moment I think I am just going to relax before I even think about what I would make next. That is, if I decide to do anything. Because like I said, whether I will do anything new in the future or not is still a big maybe. What will happen with the channel? The channel will stay as is for the foreseeable future. I have no intentions of privating it or removing anything. This is something many of you expressed worries over, and I am glad people would like to sometimes come back to the channel and remember the time the series was still going. What was the most difficult part of the ARG development? That would probably be the videos themselves. Making something that would at the same time tell a piece of the story, look good, but also not be too on the nose about what is going on. It was a difficult rope to balance on, and the stumbles are clearly visible every now and then. That being said, editing the videos was also some of the most fun I had. Especially the first video I ever uploaded and all the videos where I got to show my live action acting skills. With the forest scenes in particular, I got to go really in depth with the visuals and sounds. I wonder how many of you even heard the sounds the red-eyed yokai made in the first video of the second series. And that should pretty much cover all the questions. If more have been posted after this video goes live, then I am sorry they didn't make it in. But now I think I am going to leave and withdraw from the online spaces as 9A13 and take a proper rest. We will see if I ever want to return, so I think we will see each other again if I do. So thanks again for sticking around. I hope you've enjoyed the journey. Goodbye, at least for now.